délégués OIE, mesdames et messieurs les conférenciers, chers collègues de l'OIE, distingués invités, mesdames et messieurs les participants. J'ai l'honneur et le privilège de vous transmettre les chaleureuses salutations de Dr Monique Éloi, directrice générale de l'Organisation mondiale de la santé animale OIE. Je vous souhaite à tous la chaleureuse bienvenue à l'atelier régional virtuel de formation sur les procédures de l'OIE pour la validation des programmes officiels de contrôle de la peste des petits ruminants et de la rage transmise par les chiens. Il s'inscrit dans le cadre du programme d'appui de l'Organisation mondiale de la santé animale aux services vétérinaires reconnus comme bien public international pour leur mise aux normes internationales de l'OIE afin qu'ils puissent assumer de manière efficace leur mission régalienne. Comme vous le savez, les services vétérinaires de bonne qualité sont indispensables à la mise en œuvre réussie et durable de toutes les activités de prévention et de contrôle des maladies animales, de sécurité sanitaire des aliments, de prévention de la résistance antimicrobienne, de bien-être animal, etc. Les services vétérinaires efficaces représentent la pierre angulaire d'un environnement favorable à la mise en œuvre des politiques nationales d'amélioration de la santé animale pour un meilleur bien-être animal. Mesdames et messieurs, la formation d'aujourd'hui vise à sensibiliser les pays membres de l'OIE aux procédures et exigences de l'OIE en matière de reconnaissance officielle du statut sanitaire et d'approbation des programmes de contrôle officiels et à aider ces pays membres à renforcer leur capacité à mieux constituer les dossiers pour demander le statut officiel ou l'approbation de leur programme de contrôle officiel. Les procédures en question sont mises à votre disposition pour vous faciliter la mise en œuvre réussie de vos programmes de contrôle et d'éradication des maladies animales et le choix de 2 maladies, à savoir la PPR et la rage transmise par les chiens, n'est pas fortuit, vu l'engagement de la communauté vétérinaire mondiale pour arriver à leur élimination mondiale à l'horizon 2030. Les objectifs de l'atelier sont, je cite, « Fournir aux participants des informations sur les normes et procédures de l'OIE relatives à l'approbation des programmes officiels de contrôle de la PPR et de la rage due aux morsures de chiens, sensibiliser sur la possibilité et les avantages pour les pays membres, de faire approuver leur programme officiel de contrôle par l'OIE, soutenir le renforcement des capacités des pays membres dans la constitution des dossiers pour obtenir l'approbation des programmes officiels de contrôle par l'OIE, fournir aux participants les types et exemples d'informations nécessaires pour remplir le dossier de candidature, clarifier le rôle et les responsabilités des pays membres lors de la préparation et de la soumission des candidatures, et enfin, apporter des réponses et l'expertise nécessaire aux questions techniques liées au contrôle et à l'éradication ou élimination des maladies. Mesdames et messieurs, pour l'atelier, l'OIE a mobilisé son expertise interne du siège et des représentations et sous-représentations de notre région et fait appel aussi aux experts de ces laboratoires de référence. Au nom de la directrice générale de l'OIE, je remercie tous les experts qui ont bien accepté de partager leurs expériences pour animer l'atelier. Quant à vous, chers participants, je vous exhorte à prendre part activement à l'atelier pour vous permettre de continuer à jouer efficacement vos rôles et responsabilités afin qu'ensemble, nous protégeons les animaux et préservons notre avenir, ce qui constitue notre vision commune. Et aussi de mettre en œuvre les actions nécessaires qui permettront à l'Afrique d'être présente au rendez-vous de 2030. Je vous souhaite à tous un très excellent webinaire. Merci à vous. Bas. The next item, Zoom meeting instructions. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? It seems that nobody is hearing me.
On vous entend, mais on n'a pas jusqu'à présent la traduction en français.
Ah bon? Il y en a qui entendaient pourtant, qui disent que
Oui, ah, ok, bon, là.
il faut bien choisir le canal. Hein?
Ah, ok.
Bas, can you hear me?
Ok, là, bon, comme c'est enregistré.
Maria, can you hear me? Silence. Huh?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Who will provide the Zoom meeting instructions?
Karim, I think we can hear you. Just proceed.
For me, I finished. I made my speech, and now it is
okay. I think thank you very much. I think as the normal, everybody here has always had Zoom. We should really mute our microphones if you're not talking, and name ourselves if you have not named yourself, and raise a hand if you wish to make an interjection. I think this is all we can do for now, and
Okay.
I will ask Patrick to project the next thing on the screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think your bus started. OK. Donc, vous avez les instructions par rapport à Zoom que vient de projeter Bas, donc vous l'avez tous lu, et Sam vient de vous en faire part aussi. Donc, sans plus tarder, moi, je passerai la parole donc à Simon Kihu pour faire sa présentation. Et donc, qui va assurer, donc Sam, if you don't mind, you can really continue because I have to leave for another meeting and I will come back after that meeting. Okay?
Thank you very much. I'll now make, good morning, everyone. Let me put my presentation on. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
C'est visible.
Good morning.
And my name is Simon Kihu. I work at as a regional program officer, sub-regional office representation for Eastern Africa, based in Nairobi. I'm presenting a PPL situation in Africa region and the challenges in its control and eradication. Now, we need to realize that there have been building of consensus towards PPL eradication with international efforts, starting with the meeting, an international meeting, FAO and OI meeting held in April 2015 in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. And during this meeting, there was the launch of the Global Strategic for Control and Eradication of PPL. This was followed by development of the PPL Global Eradication Program that was launched in October 2016. And subsequently in 2018, there was a partnering and investing for PPL Free World meeting, which was supposed to rally for the investment into PPL eradication and was held in Brussels, Belgium. The PPL control and eradication strategy has objectives of eradicating PPL by 2030. The other objective is reinforce the veterinary services and reduce the impact of other major infectious diseases of the small ruminants. Consequently to this, then we look at contributing to fighting rural poverty, ensuring food security and nutrition, strengthening resilience and national economies, and achieving the SDGs. The PPL Global Eradication Program, GP1, a framework, has 4 components. Component 1 looks at promoting a neighboring environment and reinforcing veterinary capacities. Component 2 looks at support to diagnostic and surveillance systems. Component 3 looks at measures supporting PPL eradication, while component 4 looks at the coordination and management. The stepwise approach to eradication at national level starts with the below 1 stage, where at this point, no data is available within the country. But then subsequent stage, which is stage 1, looks at a situation whereby understanding of the epidemiological situation in the country is known. This is followed by the control stage, in which is stage 2, and control is identified in some areas where key husbandry production systems are identified. Stage 3 looks at the control and eradication in the entire country. And at this point, the country-based most countries are requested to put a request to OIE for endorsement of national control program as per Section 14.734 of the terrestrial code. Thereafter, we have the stage 4, where evidence for absence of the virus is actually applied for, and this can be applied to the OIE through the request for official status of free status. Now, from one stage to the other, a country can move from one stage to the other. You can move from stage 1 to stage 4 if you're able to show that there are no cases by the time you are getting to understand the epidemiological situation in the country. You can move to stage 2 sequentially, or you can move straight to stage 3 if you're able to control the PPL within the whole country, or move straight to stage 4 if the understanding of the epidemiological situation shows that there actually have been no cases within the country. Now, to be able to know the situation you are within the stepwise approach, there is a PPL monitoring and evaluation tool, which is called PMAT, and this helps the countries to be able to assess themselves and know where they are within the 4 stages of the stepwise approach. Official recognition of PPL's free state may be countrywide or in zonal. Key technical elements for each stage are usually the legal framework, getting to understand the surveillance of the country, diagnostic capacity of the country, prevention and control activities, and involvement of the stakeholders. One of the key aspects really is particularly in vaccination when you're looking at the PPL eradication is that PPL vaccines induce lifelong protective immunity in vaccinated animals after a single dose, and currently thermotolerant vaccines are available. We're also aware that the DIVA, differentiated infected from vaccinated animals, vaccines and diagnostic test technology has been developed. However, this has not been deployed commercially in the field. Key elements for vaccination are epidemiologically informed according to episystem and hotspots. Vaccines are quality assured, cold chain is maintained, campaigns are accompanied by advocacy and sensitization of the farmers. And we have vaccinators well trained. Mechanism for identifying vaccinated animals, frogs, is in place. Vaccination campaigns are evaluated and strategies adapted accordingly. And therefore, pre and post vaccination evaluation of antibody levels to assess the seroconversion. Now, within the regional meetings, PPL regional roadmap meetings, particularly in Africa, we have 5 regions, and the year 2021, we had a meeting in each and every region for UMA region, we had one in September 2021. We had one for ECOWAS in July 2021. We had one for ECAS region in August 2021, SADC September 21, and IGAD in October 2021. The PPL global situation currently, you can see in 2017, most of Africa was marked in red, which means we were in GROB. Most of it was in stage 1 of the stepwise approach. The ones in orange color, which also forms a bulk of most of the countries within Eastern Africa and Northern Africa, were in stage 2. And most of the South Africa was members who had zones recognized as free PPL. But by 2022, this has changed drastically. Only a few countries within the one country in North Africa and a few within West Africa, and which are still in stage 1. Most of the other countries are either in stage 2, particularly in Central Africa, East Africa, and others are in stage 3, a few in North Africa, Eastern Africa, and we have the Southern Africa countries. The number has increased for those which are declared free of PPL. Now, at this stage, in 2021, the PPL Global Eradication Program phase 1 ended, and PPL Global Eradication Program is under review. Currently is being written, and we are looking forward to having that program probably being launched in the course of this year. So in the process of trying to review the Global Eradication Program, all the regions were visited through a consultative meetings, which were held in all the regions in Africa. And some of the key issues which came out provides actually the situation of PPL in Africa. And I'll go through some of the key issues which came out of those meetings in 2021 in most of the region. And you realize that PPL was found to be endemic through Africa, except for a few countries, that is Cape Verde, Sao Tome and Principe, Malawi, Mozambique, Zambia, Zimbabwe, with no PPL outbreaks reported to date. And with some countries which have very few reported, have no cases reported since 2020, and these are Comoros, Djibouti, Eritrea, and Morocco. There are 6 South African countries: Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Madagascar, Mauritius, South Africa, which have OIE PPL free status recognition, and 1 country, Namibia, has PPL free zone. You realize within the first bullet, these countries which have not reported a PPL, they form a very good example of countries which could be targeted for requesting for free status if they are able to show that they do not have the virus within their territories. Looking at the strategic framework within countries in the region, we find that most of the regions have got a PPL strategic framework. ECOWAS has a strategic framework developed and validated by the stakeholders. ECAS also do have one, which has been developed by Sebevira, but not yet endorsed by ECAS. We have Southern Africa strategy, which has been developed, translated in Portuguese, and ready for validation by members. In East Africa and IGAD countries, we have a PPL strategy aligned to the global control and eradication strategy, and even Pan-African PPL control eradication strategy. And in UMA, we have a draft regional strategy, which need to be finalized. When we look at the PPL strategic frameworks within countries, most of the member countries in ECOWAS, ECAS, IGAD, and North Africa, including Egypt, have PPL control strategies. However, most of the countries in the ECAS region have not had their PPL strategic plans endorsed by relevant national authorities. PPL coordination committees with the defined modus operandi and tasks were in place only in a few countries. So most of the other countries don't seem to have the national PPL coordination committees. In South Africa, or in Southern African countries under SADC, PPL national strategic plans were developed and validated in Comoros, DRC, Lesotho, Malawi, Mauritius, Mozambique, Namibia, Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe. Socials has a draft plan, while in countries like Angola, Botswana, Eswatini, Madagascar, and South Africa have not developed PPR strategic plan, although apart from Angola, the other countries actually do not have PPR, but probably they could be thinking about having to develop a PPR contingency plan just in case. Diagnostic capability in most of the African countries shows that real-time PCR capabilities is in a few countries, variable PPR diagnostic capabilities at regional and district laboratories within countries. Only a few national laboratories across regions have capability for gene sequencing and analysis. And we also have inadequate supplies to diagnostic reagents due to lack of funds or procurement procedures. Training of the laboratory staff is continuous need due to high staff turnovers. And there is inadequate training for field staff in PPR recognition, staff sample collection, transportation, and disease reporting. When we look at surveillance, we found that there is no uniformity in surveillance systems within regions, but mobile phone applications are used in some of the countries. There's limited surveillance in wildlife at livestock wildlife interface in the regions due to limited expertise, cost, logistics, and inadequate partnership with wildlife institutions. Stakeholder concerns on the effects of the PPR in population of different susceptible wildlife population, particularly endangered species. And therefore, these concerns need to be taken care of. We have limited surveillance in other atypical hosts, particularly cattle, camels, and pigs, which could host PPR, but some studies have been conducted in limited number of species and countries. When we looked at prevention and control, many countries have institutionalized annual mass vaccination activities that are not risk-based. Vaccination coverage varies in different countries from very low to more than 50% of the population, but no indication of the criteria is to select animals for vaccination. Some countries cell monitoring, in some countries, cell monitoring of vaccinated population not only is carried out, even where kits are available. Inadequate vaccine supplies, concerns of poor vaccine quality by some countries. There is ad hoc vaccine orders which make it difficult for vaccine manufacturers to plan for availability of sufficient, to avail sufficient vaccines. This prolonged presence of PPR, the prolonged presence of PPR erodes stakeholders' interest and commitment to control and eradicate. Porous borders within uncontrollable cross-border and porous borders provide for an uncontrolled cross-border of animals movement, and we have inaccessible areas due to remoteness, difficult terrains, and insecurity. We have religious practices and festivals which enhance animal movement and spread the disease unknowingly. We have lack of animal identification and traceability systems in many countries across the region. Sorry, I'm having my slides have gotten stuck a bit, hanging. If you don't mind, I'll switch off and restart and get back to this slide again. Apologies for this, it's still not working.
We're not seeing your shared screen, Simon.
Okay, let me. Okay, let's hope. The next stage was the legal frameworks. We have variable legal frameworks to support PPL eradication and PPL. And PPL is generally or legally notifiable disease in most countries. However, some countries lack appropriate legal provisions for PPL. I hope this is now visible.
Yes.
A lack of legal provisions for engagement of private animal health service providers, particularly the veterinarians and vet paraprofessionals and CHWs in public good services in many countries. And in this case, we're thinking about involvement in vaccination. Stakeholder involvement, we have variable successes with stakeholder engagement and support across regions, from weak to moderately strong. We have weaknesses in collaboration and coordination with wildlife institutions in some countries. And there's also weakness in engagement of private veterinarians and veterinary paraprofessionals in PPL surveillance and control in some regions. Resource mobilization was also found to be a key major issue across the region, except for a few countries like Algeria, Morocco, Niger, Benin in Africa. And the key thing is inadequate allocation of funds in national budgets for most countries to fully support implementation of national strategic plans. Donor support for some national and regional initiatives, but mostly targeted in insufficient and ineffectively coordinated eradication programs. When you look at the regional coordination, all regions have variation in regional coordination mechanism, including regional advisory groups, CVO networks, epidemiology networks, laboratory networks, PPL roadmap meetings, and bilateral or multilateral MOUs between member states. We also have coordination structures which vary from a region to region. Some regions have established institutions with sufficient personnel to support coordination, looking in this case, ECOWAS, IGAD, and SADC. Now, to address some of these issues from OIE side, OIE is able to, within its departments, actually try to address the issues, looking at the strategic advisory, member country liaison, budget and donor liaison, and to address any other topic related, looking at the internal coordination group, which meets regularly to look at some of these key issues. Now, looking at the official recognition, we have 59 countries plus one zone officially recognized as PPL-free. And in May 2020, we had Lesotho officially recognized as PPL-free within the region. We had a specific training on regional workshop on official recognition procedures, a workshop targeted to African countries, which was done in Nairobi, Kenya in June 2019. Now, the green countries in this map shows all the areas which are zones recognized as free of PPL. And the ones in gray are countries or zones with no official status for PPL. We have an infographic here showing some information regarding some of the topic of today, that is looking at achievement of official recognition for your PPL status, either the program or the status of the country. And this infographic can be accessed from the OIE website. Some of the other key activities which are done within OIE include evaluation, PVS pathway evaluation missions, and which are sometimes PPL specific. And the main PVS report is usually a normal, but have a PPL specialist within the team, and usually not a team leader, but undertakes the mission with a PPL lens, visiting PPL relevant field sites. One full day workshopping on PPL with the veterinary services, and drafts a PPL annex to the main report, which can be used as a standalone document. And this links to the PMAT, provides objective field verification of PMAT staging with targeted recommendation, useful at any stage of national strategic plan development to feed into the development, to monitor its progress with respect to PMAT. So far within the region, we have 4 countries, that is Nigeria, Chad, Burundi, and Liberia, which have undertaken this PPL, the previous mission with the PPL addition to it. And we also have some countries, I think 2 more countries, which are already awaiting this kind of evaluation mission. We also have another tool, which is the PPL Vaccine Bank, established in 2013. Is a voluntary mechanism, and the objective is to ensure procurement of highly quality vaccines manufactured in line with OIE standards and delivered in timely manner for the benefit and use of OIE members. The policy paper is usually found on the website within that link, and more than 80 million doses delivered in countries in Africa so far, particularly through the PRAPS project in Western and Central Africa. Following a new international call for tender in 2021, 2 manufacturers were selected based on technical and financial criteria, namely MCI Santé Animal and Hestas Biosciences in Bangladesh and in India. The OIE is able to provide the dermatolerant PPL vaccine through its PPL Vaccine Bank. And this information can also be found on the OIE website. This is the process of how to submit a request, and this is usually easy and streamlined. It is done on an official letter by the OIE delegate of the country to the Director General, and complete a justification form presenting the situation and the need of the PPL, identifying funds for the vaccine from before sending the official request to the OIE, and liaise with the corresponding OIE regional representation if any question before sending the request to OIE regional representation for, in this case, there are several within Africa. We have the Southern Africa, Eastern Africa, West Africa, and North Africa. After vaccination campaign has been implemented, provide the OIE final report. The other tool we have is laboratory twinning, and this objective is to capacity build and bolster expertise in national laboratories by linking an OIE existing reference laboratory or collaborating center with selected candidate laboratory. There are 3 OIE reference laboratories for PPL: CIRAD France, Public Institute in UK, and China Animal Health Epidemiology Center in Qingdao, People Republic of China. 3 laboratory training projects for PPL already completed: JOVAC, Jordan, and CIDB, Tanzania, and Biopharma, Morocco. A new twinning project launched with the Senegal and CIRAD. The OIE reference laboratory network has been formed, and this OIE reference network for PPL is a new platform open to all laboratories actively performing PPL diagnostics, managed by the 3 OIE reference laboratories, officially launched in November 2020. First meeting of OIE PPL reference laboratory network took place in November 2021 to share experiences and best practices with its members. Provides information on protocols, vaccine, reference material, training, proficiency test, diagnostic services, expertise available to the community. Fosters high quality harmonized laboratory practices across PPL diagnostic communities and supporting the global eradication strategy effort. All information can be found on the website, and you can contact Arnold Batel, who is the contact person. We also have other tools that support PPL eradication, and these are communication tools. We have these 2 tools. One is for diagnostics information, and the other one is for vaccination. These ones are in French, and we also have them already translated in English, and they're used by the frontline workers who can be able to have this information and be able to practice and carry out vaccination and diagnosis of PPL well informed. Currently, we have funding from various donors and supporting PPL. We have US DETRA, Germany funds from BMZ, and we have European Commission and World Bank. And one of the key important things is to remind all the countries that it is important that they should mobilize funds both internally and externally and demonstrate their engagement in PPL eradication activities by preparing their own investment and advocacy plans for seeking funds, and donor will then join forces with countries to fill in the funding gap. One of the other key things I should also point out here is that apart from OIE activities, we also have activities which are carried out by PPL Secretariat, and we also have specific OIE FAO's activities which are also carried out within these countries, all combined supporting the PPL eradication within the region. The way forward at this key point is to finalize and publish the PMAT. We also are looking forward to launch the second phase of the Global Eradication Program, phase 2, which is likely to be done in the course of this year. We are looking at FAO and WIDE committed in continuing the activities to eradicate PPL by 2030. Need for the countries to do better mobilization of investments through national and regional projects and implement vaccination campaign informed by epidemiological context, environment, situation assessment, generally what we are now referring to as ecosystem approach. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Simon. I interject here because Dr. Karim asked me to chair this meeting. He's moved to another meeting, so he asked me to chair this. Thank you, Simon, for giving us a highlight of the situation on PPR. I would request that people note their questions so that we shall address them in the question and answer session. But the highlight of this was there was no uniformity in surveillance, there's a need for capacity, there's challenges with the wildlife situations, limited information on camels, no clear criteria for selection of vaccination in some countries, stakeholder fatigue due to prolonged presence of PPR. There are issues on legal provisions for workforce to address the control of PPR. He also gave you about the process of official recognition and highlighted about training and resource mobilization. That's just my summary of the whole thing. And I request that you keep your questions till the question time. Now, I would like to invite Tenzin to give us the rabies situation in the region and the challenges for its control and prevention. Welcome.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I would like to present on the rabies situation in the Africa region and some of the challenges and its challenges in its control and prevention program. Now we have to know, it is very important that we understand and remind ourselves about the rabies fact. Rabies is a fatal disease and there is no cure. And rabies kills on an average around 59,000 people every year in the world. And it ranges from it can range, it's not a static figure, but it can range from 25,000 to 50, 60,000 in a year. And this translates to one death every 9 minutes. And we also understand that 40% of the rabies deaths occur in children below 15 years of age. And 99% of rabies deaths, rabies virus are transmitted through dog bites. So this means that if there is no dog bite, there is no rabies. And we also know that we can stop human rabies transmission through dog vaccination. And dog vaccination has been demonstrated to eliminate rabies transmission in human. So that is why we vaccinate So it is important that we vaccinate dog to stop rabies transmission. So in case of human, rabies can be prevented through washing of the bite wound with soap and water, and it can also be prevented through timely post-exposure prophylaxis. So human rabies is 100% preventable disease. So we have to provide PEP post-exposure prophylaxis to save human lives. Now coming to the rabies situation in Africa, we know that rabies is very much endemic in Africa, and there are only few island countries that are free from rabies. So out of 54 African countries, there are only few island countries that are free from rabies, and dogs are the main sources of rabies transmission in Africa. This map shows the annual dog rabies incidence in Africa. The darker shade indicates more number of rabies incidents in dogs. And dog rabies incidence is also very high, and meta-analysis has indicated that around 44% of, say, like 15,000 dogs examined are positive for rabies. And if we see the differences between on dog versus stray dog population, it was revealed that more than 60% of the rabies cases are reported in on dogs, and only about 11% are reported in stray dogs. This is true because the dog owner would submit their sample for examination and confirmation, and that is why more number of rabies cases in dogs are reported. Then the rabies situation in human. This map shows the human rabies death in Africa region, and it has been estimated that around 21,000 humans die of rabies every year in Africa, and it ranges from around 10,000 to 66,000. And Africa shared the second highest human rabies death, which translated to about 36% of the global death due to rabies is occurring in Africa. And if you see the rabies burden in Africa, about 1.3 million disability adjusted life years are lost every year in Africa, which is about 37% of the global estimates. And this map shows the per capita human death due to rabies in Africa region, where the darker shades has higher incidence of human rabies death. And this is the daily disability adjusted loss due to rabies. And this also indicates that the darker shade indicate more number of daily loss due to rabies. Now, if you translated the economic cost of rabies in Africa in thousands US dollar, this is the direct cost due to rabies. Direct cost comprises of vaccine cost and also other like syringes, needles cost. And this is the distribution of the direct cost due to rabies in Africa. And this map shows the distribution of travel cost. If someone is bitten by a rabies suspect dog, that person has to visit to the hospital for post-exposure prophylaxis. And he or she has to visit like for 5 times, and that's the travel. And when you visit hospital, you lose your time. And this translated into the travel cost. And this is the income lost cost. So when you visit to the hospital, you spend around like 3 or 4 hours or 5 hours. And during this travel, you lose your income. And this map shows the distribution of income loss due to rabies. And this map shows the livestock losses due to rabies. So for the poor farmers, livestock is a very important asset. And there are many number of animals or livestock, cattle, goats, sheep, lost due to rabies. And this contribute to the economic impact for the farmers as well as for the government. And this is the vaccination cost. So we see that many of the countries in Africa region are spending very much only less number of amount on dog vaccination, which in fact should be like spend more on the dog vaccination program. And this map shows the distribution of dog population management cost. And this map shows the surveillance cost. It shows that in Africa region, the government is spending less on dog vaccination and on rabies surveillance. And that is why we really do not understand the true picture of the rabies burden in the region. And this map shows the premature death cost. So like most of the human rabies death occur in children below 15 years of age. And if the death due to rabies were prevented in the children, they would contribute for the nation building. So because of the premature death, it has a very huge impact on the national economy and human resources. So in total, this is the rabies cost in Africa region that like if you see the productivity loss due to premature death is highest, followed by dog population management and the direct cost. And we see that the surveillance cost and the dog vaccination cost is a minimum. That is why I think the national government has to spend more resources on dog vaccination program and surveillance program to control rabies and to understand the true picture of the disease. And this map shows the distribution of the rabies cost in total. In Africa region, on an average, about $1.3 billion is spent on rabies. And at the global level, it is about 8.6 billion. So this indicates that rabies has a huge impact on the national economy. And that is why it is important that we control and we prevent rabies outbreak in the region. And this map shows the dog vaccination cost, which is very low. And because of low dog vaccination, because of less amount of money spent on dog vaccination, the dog vaccination coverage is very less. So the recommended dog vaccination coverage should be like up to 70% of the estimated dog population. But it is very, very difficult to achieve that target. And because of the low vaccination coverage, there is high persistence of high annual dog rabies incidence in the region. And we can also see that in the past, there were several networking in the region, like Eastern Africa Rabies Network, Southern Africa Rabies Network, Northern Africa, and Western Africa. Now the Global Alliance for Rabies Control, under the Global Alliance for Rabies Control, a Pan-African Rabies Network has been formed in the Africa region, and the Middle East, Eastern Europe, Central Africa, and North Africa Rabies Control Network called Meracon has also been formed. So this is a very important network that coordinate rabies elimination program in the region. So there's an African saying that if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. So it is very important that there should be a regional collaboration and regional strategies to eliminate dog-mediated rabies in the region. Now, coming to the National Rabies Control Program. In order to control and prevent rabies, it is important that the country should have a clear roadmap. What activities to be implemented, where it is to be implemented, who will implement, when it will be implemented, why it is important, and how it will be implemented. So it is very important that a country should have a national rabies prevention and control program. So in the Africa region, among 54 countries, like 31 countries have a national rabies prevention and control strategy in plan in place, which is about 57% of the countries have a national strategy control program in place. And some of the rabies activities are also like included in the national neglected tropical disease master plan. So it is encouraging to learn that most of the countries in the region have a national rabies control program, and about 10 countries are in the draft stage, and only 8 countries do not have a national strategy plan, where 5 countries do not have any information. So it is in order to like move towards 0 by 2030 target, we should have a national strategic plan in place to implement the rabies control strategies. Although some of the countries do not have a rabies control strategy or national control plan in place, this map shows that there is a presence of control measures being implemented. There is a presence of rabies control measures. Like whenever there is a rabies outbreak in the country, the control measures are indicated. And this map shows that all countries have a dog vaccination program, meaning that whenever there is an outbreak, dog vaccination program are also implemented. And in the world, only 2 countries, Namibia and Philippines, has OIE endorsed officially rabies control program in place, and that is why this workshop is very important for the member countries to understand the importance of having a national program in place and to apply for a OIE or apply for an official control program to be recognized by the OIE. Now, there are several projects, pilot projects are being implemented in the Africa region, and the proof of concept has demonstrated that effective dog vaccination program is able to like break down the transmission chain of rabies among dogs and from dogs to human. And several pilot projects are being implemented in the region. And I would like to share one example in Namibia. Like this is the northern communal area of Namibia, where a pilot rabies elimination project is being implemented. The pilot project was implemented in 2016. Before the pilot project, around 23 human rabies cases were reported in this part of the region. Now, after the implementation of the rabies elimination project, the number of human cases has reduced to a single digit. So this demonstrates that dog vaccination is the most cost-effective means of eliminating rabies in human. Now, there are several challenges and issues and constraints in its control and prevention program. One constraint is the political support and commitment. There is, it appears there is lack of strong political support and commitment. So it is important that you have to apprise the policymakers about the importance of rabies elimination program. And the cycle of neglect persists in many countries. Why? Because the extent of the disease burden is not well understood due to inadequate or pure rabies surveillance. So we have to understand the iceberg phenomenon. Like this also applies to rabies. And what we know is only little and about the rabies incidence. And there are many unreported human rabies death or animal rabies death that has not been captured. So when there is a poor surveillance, it will be very difficult to make a policy decision to provide political commitment and political support for the control program. So it is important that surveillance is a very key component of the rabies elimination program. And because of that, there is a lack of political support and commitment. And another issue and challenge is that is seen across the world is shortage of financial and human resources, and weak coordination among the key stakeholders are some of the challenges. And stray and free roaming dog population and management is also a challenge in the region. Now, another challenge is because of lack of political support and commitment and human and financial resources, it is very difficult to consistently achieve the required dog vaccination coverage of 70% across the hard-to-reach landscape in Africa. Africa is a very vast area, and it is a challenge to achieve like 70% of the recommended dog vaccination coverage. And another challenge is the inadequate education on rabies control, or elimination strategies among the veterinarian, physician, general public, and the key stakeholders. And shortage of rabies vaccine, both for human as well as for dog vaccine, is also a challenge, an issue. And another is data and information sharing. So there are several challenges for the rabies elimination program. Now, the way forward is the global strategy is to make a zero human death by 2030. Now we are in the phase 2 of the 0 by 30. So this phase 2 is a scale-up program, which is running currently from 2021 until 2026. So that is why the member countries have to scale up the elimination program by increasing the mass dog vaccination program, awareness program, and rabies surveillance. And OIE has also established a vaccine bank, rabies vaccine bank, in 2012. And since the establishment of vaccine bank in 2012, around 38 member countries in the world have benefited. Out of 38 member countries, more than 25 countries have benefited from the OIE vaccine bank and has delivered more than 26 million doses of rabies vaccine. So the way forward is now we have to, so this is a workshop to discuss about the rabies elimination program. And rabies can be ended by vaccinating dogs. So the member countries are encouraged to scale up your mass dog vaccination program. Thank you.
Thank you, Tenzin. In summary, he has actually given us the extent of rabies in Africa, with dogs as the main transmitters. Actually, those owned dogs, not the stray dogs, owned dogs as the main transmitters. And he has also told us that Africa is contributing significantly to the global situation, 37%. He has also given us an economic cost of controlling the disease, emphasizes the need of national governments to focus on the control of the disease in dogs, and highlight the networks that are available that we can tap on. The importance of national control programs for the OIE for recognition of the control of the disease. And he gave examples of Namibia and highlighted challenges, including political support, neglect, capacity for the human resources, the vaccine availability, information sharing, and that also in the most countries are at phase 2. Thank you. Once again, I would encourage you to keep your questions to the question and answer session, but you can put your question also in the chat, and I encourage Tenzin and Simon to look at those because you'll have to answer that. Now, the next presentation will come from, and excuse my pronunciation, Yuenten Fuenteshok from the OIE Standards Department. He's going to talk about the OIE Standards Operating Procedures for the Endorsement of Official Control Program. Welcome.
Thank you. I would like to confirm if you can hear me well and see my screen well. Yes, we do. Put just in, yeah. in the-
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon for some of you.
It's not on presentation mode. You're probably using two screens at the same time, so it's
Yeah, you and then go to display settings where you were. It's good here,
And you can still see.
slideshow. Go to slideshow. In the bottom, yes. And then here in the display settings, you see at the top of the screen, above the first slide.
Or duplicate.
Yes, and then first option you should select, I believe. Yes, it's good now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I will be, over the next 20 or so minutes, I'll be talking about the standard operating procedures for OIE endorsement of offshore control programs. I will cover a bit on the history, the procedure itself, and the maintenance of an already endorsed program in interest of the workshop on rabies and dog-mediated rabies and PPR. So it started in 1994, and this is a voluntary-based procedure, a procedure for certain diseases where to be set up, and it was mandated. The mandate was given to the Scientific Commission, and the following year, in 1995, a procedure was in place for the offshore recognition for FMD. So subsequently, in 1996, we had the first list of countries and zones free from FMD without vaccination. This formed an important legal link with the World Trade Organization, and members to date, they are still making very good use of this possibility to facilitate trade. Yes, so in 1996 FMD, and then we had Renderpest till it was eradicated. And we also have CBPP, DSC the following years. And then AHS and PPR were added to the list. And then CSF, and the latest one we have is for dog-mediated rabies. And the OIE also has the possibility for endorsement of offshore control programs for 4 diseases which are marked with an asterisk. And coming to the main procedure for endorsement of members control program, as I have mentioned, this is a voluntary procedure, facilitate trade, requested by members, and this is based on the resolutions adopted by the World Assembly. We have specific SOPs, rules, guidelines, questionnaires on this procedure available in 3 languages. And these documents are not static, they are updated whenever it is relevant, whenever there is a change with the Terrestrial Animal Health Code. And you can visit our website to find more information on this, and also the current list of members that either recognize free or have their offshore control program endorsed. So the dossier we developed based on the terrestrial code and the specific disease chapters, as well as the horizontal chapters, which applies for the program, as well as the status of animal health. The format, we recommend that it should be 50 pages or less, and then the additional information or relevant information are put as appendices, which are cross-referenced properly with the main dossier. Executive summary is also required, as well as good quality digitalized maps, especially if you are applying for zonal freedom. And then other administrative procedures like proof of payment and contact details for the technical staff who is leading this dossier development, and the OIE's assessment is required. We follow annual cycle, and our cycle starts from one general session to the next general session. After the current general session, you would receive a letter from the DG whereby you will have announcements of the deadlines for submission of the dossiers. This will be based on when the ad hoc group meetings are to be held. So within more than 60 days, you have to submit your dossiers to the OIE status department, and then which will be assessed by the ad hoc group. The scientific commission meeting would follow the recommendations, or would consider the recommendations of the ad hoc group meetings, and 60 days before the next general session, the outcomes of the assessment would be communicated to all delegates which have submitted their dossier in the previous year. And finally, after all this, it will be officially recognized at the general session by the whole assembly of delegates. Just to take the opportunity and remind you, I have put in the recent tentative dates for the different ad hoc group meetings and the subsequent deadlines, which are at least 60 days before the start of the ad hoc group. So for PPR, if you are planning to submit, then 20th August is the deadline. And for dog-mediated rabies, it is 9th of September. This also shows the workflow, and I will explain in the next slides the main tasks performed by the different stages. So after we receive your applications at the headquarters, then it will be the ad hoc group who will assess the dossiers, and then scientific commission recommendations will be made to the Director General for the official endorsement or official recognition during the whole assembly of delegates. By status department, we will receive your dossiers. We will perform the first screening. We will acknowledge receipt of the dossiers and also request for additional information if required, or if you have any questions on the technical as well as the administrative aspects of the dossier. If it's submitted in the other official OIE languages, translations will be done for the ad hoc group meeting, and we also would keep documents of all the working documents which are required for the ad hoc group meetings. The ad hoc group meeting is like a group of experts on a particular disease or particular procedure, and they would do the assessment according to the requirements of the terrestrial code, and based on the information presented in the application, and cross-checking its consistency with the information submitted to the OIE through either OIE VIHIS or the previous missions or the past meetings and events. The experts will also look for information available in the public domain and would provide possible interaction with the applicant member through telecommunication. Recommendations for the outcomes of the evaluation of dossiers are made by the group, and the report is considered by the scientific commission in the next stage. As you know, the scientific commission consists of experts which are elected by a system of vote during the whole assembly, and they would look at the dossier and would also consider the ad hoc group recommendations. And during the scientific commission for animal diseases meeting, interaction with chairperson of the ad hoc group, in particular when they discuss the specific diseases, would be done. And interaction with the applicant countries is also possible. With the final recommendation for world provided to the World Assembly, and where they will make the final adoption or the endorsement. But in some cases, before this is done, an expert mission to verify the dossier or to ensure some procedures which were not very clear in the dossier would be recommended. So this is the letter from DG to the applicant members that I said during the timeline there. It is done 60 days before the next general session. If recommends a positive outcome, this will be assessed and published in the report of the scientific commission meeting and communicated to the delegate when the 60-day period later to the delegates are sent. And finally, would be officially endorsed or adopted during the World Assembly. But in case if the assessment by ad hoc group as well as the scientific commission recommendations are not positive, then this won't be published in the scientific commission report. This will be kept confidential, but will be only communicated to the concerned delegate with recommendations or the gaps that why the outcome was not positive. And I also mentioned that in certain cases, outcomes would be pending a mission based on the mission report. We will make the outcome at a later stage. And the missions would be done in accordance with the resolutions and SOP. It will be based on the request from the scientific commission to the DG, and the DG would approve the mission, which should be part of the evaluation and the monitoring mechanism. The member country where the mission is taking place is responsible for travel and accommodation and other related costs, and members are expected to fully cooperate with the OIE headquarters and the experts for their visit, verification, and all of the information that would be requested during or before the meeting. So the final status of final endorsement is completed by adoption of resolution during the general session by the World Assembly of Delegates. And this is the end of the procedure. But then having your animal health status recognized or having your official control program endorsed is not the end. Maintenance of your status as well as maintenance of the endorsed program is as important as having it endorsed or recognized. Maintenance is verified through an annual reconfirmation system that we have. The deadline for annual reconfirmation is fixed. It is at the end of November every year, November 30, and this is submitted through a web-based tool. The OIE status department would request if there are any additional information to be submitted. The report or the summary from the department would go for the SCAT review during their SCAT scientific commission's meeting. And again, this goes to the World Assembly for adoption, and you will see the resolutions in the after the World Assembly of Delegates. What could cause your maintenance? I mean, if you are not compliant with the timelines or the performance indicators that were mentioned in your endorsed program, or if there are significant problems that are associated in the country which impact the performance of the veterinary system, or if there is an increase in occurrence of disease that cannot be addressed by the program, then this will impact the status, and the status won't be maintained after that year. Withdrawal is convened by the Director General to the concerned OIE delegate, and non-compliance with requirements of terrestrial code could also lead to withdrawal status or the endorsed program. So this is the last slide of my presentation, and I would like to remind of a few important points. I would also like to mention here that the procedures and the guidelines would be presented separately for the two diseases on the dedicated days, that is tomorrow and day after. But a few important points are the deadlines for submission, which I have mentioned earlier. For PPR is 20th of August, and for rabies is 9th of September. This is usually 60 days before the ad hoc group meetings begin. The format of the dossier should be in line with the SOP and the guidelines that we have on the our web page. The technical contact point identification and giving details of contact for the technical contact point is important for us to come back to the members. Application fees are required, and maintenance is important and should be done during the annual reconfirmation campaign. I thank you all for your attention. And since I was on full screen, I couldn't see your chats, but we'll be happy to answer to your questions during the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you, Yonton, for that elaborate presentation. He has given us actually the chronology of diseases, including the procedures for standard operating procedures for the endorsement of official control programs. He highlighted the process, including the submissions and the application dates with deadlines for the application, and emphasized on the need for the countries to cooperate during the missions that are conducted to verify the situation. Thank you very much. And I can see there are some questions for you in the chat relating to wildlife and other issues. Please do address them. We'll now go to Maja Popovic, also from the OI standards. She's going to give us a questionnaire on endorsement of the official control programs of the common elements. Welcome, Maja.
Many thanks. Many thanks for the introduction, and good day, everyone. So, as just mentioned, I will provide you with some common points of 2 questionnaires. As you know, today and during the next 2 days, we will focus on the endorsement of official control programs for PPR and for dog-mediated rabies. So there are some common points between 2 questionnaires and 2 diseases that are related to the procedure and the preparation of the dossier. So today I will present you objectives of the endorsement of official control program by the OIE, the submission, just some main points, the key question about this, the role of the questionnaire, common shortcomings, and maintenance and withdrawal, but just in a very short way to give you some main points about the process. So we will start with the objectives. What are the objectives of the country when we speak about the endorsement of the official control program? It is to progressively improve the situation and eventually attain official recognition of animal health status in your country or a zone, or be able to make a self-declaration of freedom in case of dog-mediated rabies. Second objective would be to help the veterinary services to be provided with some additional support from their government, or as well to help to be provided with some support from donors if if there is a lack of financial resources, and it was mentioned by our colleague Tenzin in his presentation as one of the challenges, in particular in this region. And as well, it is for countries to be provided with some technical guidance or recommendations on the progress of their program during the annual reconfirmation process, when you get some specific recommendations how it can be proved and what should be the way to follow. Some very important points about two questionnaires and the endorsement and the procedure of endorsement of official control programs is that this procedure is completely on voluntary basis, so it is up to the country to submit an application for the OIE endorsement of official control program whenever you think you are ready to submit your application, and when you think that the following conditions as well are fulfilled. It is important to know that the official control program should be applicable to the entire country, even if a zonal approach would be taken. And if you are taking zonal approach, so if the endorsed plan is to gradually be implemented in a specific zone, please provide the exact boundaries of the zones in your application. But this is something that we will address as well tomorrow and day after, when we will speak more specifically about the questionnaire for dog-mediated rabies and the questionnaire and requirements for PPR. And something last but not the least, it is that the program should be submitted for the OIE endorsement once the measures have been implemented and once you have some evidence of positive progress and effectiveness of the program implemented. What are the benefits of having an OIE endorsement, OIE endorsed official control program? First is the international recognition of your veterinary services in PPR and rabies control. Second one could be that you could benefit more of the political and financial support from the government because you show certain commitment to control and eradicate or eliminate those diseases in your countries. It could help you to get some additional financial support from donors, and you are taking part in the global strategies. As you know, both diseases the OIE has a global strategies for their eradication and elimination. How you can apply for an OIE endorsement of official control program? It should be done in accordance with the standard operating procedure that is just presented by UN10, and you can find available on OIE website. Here you can see the link. It should be done following the relevant template questionnaires. And we will speak a little bit more about specificities of these questionnaires tomorrow and on Friday, and following the requirements of the Terrestrial Animal Health Code regarding those two diseases. So very often one key question that you could have is how you can show and demonstrate that all requirements from the terrestrial code are in place and that they are working well. So it seems very simple when we are answering. It should be demonstrated by evidence, and you should provide evidence on how the things are working in your country, what are the measures that you are implementing, how you are following up on these measures and the progress of the program that is implemented in your country, and how they comply with the OIE terrestrial code and OIE manual. It seems very simple when we say, yeah, the answer is simple, you should demonstrate this by the evidence, but very often this is very challenging work, and we will do our best to help you and to facilitate this in the coming days, not only by giving our presentations, but in particular by doing the exercises with some practical examples and some highlighting some gaps that we have identified in the past during the evaluation process of the dossiers. So what is the role of the questionnaire? The role of the questionnaires are to assist, is to assist the members, so to compile the information and to provide evidence as required by the code, to assist the experts to facilitate the evaluation of each of the dossier, to give more transparency to the evaluation process, because with the questionnaire we have a standardized manner to compile all information and to present information that is required by the code and to standardize the evaluation among the countries. So to have the answers of all countries or all members to the similar questions, so it will be it assists to our experts to evaluate each of the dossier. Role for you, it is that it can give you guidance how to provide more comprehensive information in your dossier when you are presenting your official control program for the OIE endorsement. It will help you to know how to structure your dossier and what should be the flow of information presented. It is important to know that you should answer to each question of this questionnaire. It is really very important, because otherwise, yeah, we will come back to you to ask you the questions that you may have missed or that you have not answered. And it is important that you should provide documented evidence for each of the points that you are describing in your dossier. So over the years, we have received dossier, of course, for the endorsement of official control programs for the diseases, and in particular for those two. And we noted some common shortcomings in dossier that very often appears. One of these gaps is that the program is submitted before its implementation, so there is no evidence about its effectiveness. So the experts, they cannot really see if this program is effective, if there is a positive progress in your country by implementing the program. In certain situations, the countries would submit only the national eradication elimination plan, but without answering all questions from the template questionnaire. As I already mentioned, very often there are not all questions answered from the relevant template questionnaire as well, one of the gaps that we have noted. Other gaps, they are mainly related to the very specific section that relates to the work plan for the next 5 years, because in your plan, not only that you should present the measures that you have implemented and their effectiveness, but you should as well present the clear work plan for the next 5 years with the clear objectives, but as well using the measurable indicators to show and to know how to see it, how to measure the progress of your program and its implementation in the country. So the first point is that GAP identified that description of the objectives for the next 5 years very often is not clear, or it is not presented in a progressive way. For example, there is a repetition of the same activity for the next 5 years, or you just present for 1 year and then it is done. The other gap that is related as well to work plan, and I mentioned it is very important that when you are presenting your work plan, and we will focus a lot in our exercises for both diseases tomorrow and on Friday on this, because it is very important part of official control program, and it is important to present it in a good way. It will serve afterwards, after having an OIE endorsement, it will serve as well to the OIE and as well and to the OIE to see the progress done and to evaluate the effectiveness of your program. It will help as well to you to see how you are progressing in the implementation of the program, and when it could be potentially the time to apply for the official status recognition, or to send a self-declaration for a freedom in the case of dog-mediated rabies. So very often the timeline, the timeline and the performance indicators are not provided in the program. So as I said, tomorrow and the day after, we will speak much more about this, how to present this, what are the techniques or that you can use, and how to facilitate the preparation of this part. And the third point as well, very often, is that there is no clear evidence of the implementation of the plan and the funding. We are coming back to funding as well as a problem, and it is very often challenge to have secured funding for the next 5 years, but it is important to show your commitment and your will to find funding for the plan to be completely implemented, so you can achieve your objectives regarding official status recognition. So this is one example of the work plan for next 5 years. That is, if you see, it's not the best example. We do see some measurable indicators, but yeah, we don't have for all years. We have some are just reported in 1 year, but not for others. And as well, some of them, yeah, they are not really measurable. You will see that tomorrow we will speak about using smart indicators that are indicators that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So this is just one example, but yeah, as I said, we will work a lot on these next 2 days to help you and to facilitate the preparation of this specific part of your official control program. And yeah, there are some don't and do points that we would like to highlight at the end. So please don't omit the gaps identified. Rather acknowledge the gaps and explain how they are being or they will be addressed. What are the actions that are being taken or it will be taken to fully rely on the expected range of errors. So in the case of PPR, you will see that yeah, sometimes countries they attribute the number of seropositives to the expected range. And they do not follow up. So please do follow up of seropositive reactors. Presume that all stakeholders are aware of what to notice, how to report, how to deal with suspicions. Instead of that, please conduct training and test your early warning system regularly, so you can see as well what are the gaps, what should be improved. Don't submit incomplete information. Try to respond in full way to all questions of the questioners something that we have mentioned. Certainly leave statements without explanation. As I already mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, the best way to show that your official control program is working is to provide supportive data and evidence about this. I'm sorry for this repetition. And if you have any need to, I'm sorry, I missed one point. That don't presume that readers or evaluating experts will know certain points that are not mentioned in your dossier. Instead of that, describe in detail every point that you can. Put yourself in the expert's shoes, and if you have any doubt, please contact either our colleagues from regional and sub-regional offices, either headquarters, status department. We would be happy to answer any of your questions. As Joenten mentioned, the procedure is not finished once you have OIE endorsed official control program. Once you have this program endorsed by the OIE, every year you should send an annual reconfirmation by the end of November. This annual reconfirmation will include an annual update on the progress made according to the timeline and performance indicators that you originally submitted. My apologies, as a part of your dossier. I'm sorry, something happened wrong. And you should provide in this part as well information on significant changes related to the official control program for the upcoming period. And there are a few points important to know and common as well for two programs, that in certain situations the OIE endorsement can be withdrawn. It will happen when there is no submission of annual reconfirmation. That normally is due to be in November each year and by January of the following year. In the case of negative assessment of the annual reconfirmation by the Scientific Commission for Animal Diseases, and in the case of non-compliance with the requirements laid down in the relevant chapters of the terrestrial code. So just few last points that are important to remember when you're compiling information and preparing your dossier, that you should involve all relevant stakeholders and secure resources, human resources, time, and financial resources. That when you are compiling information to present in your dossier, that you should put yourself in the expert shoes, so they may not know the things that you didn't describe in your dossier, that you should be clear and concise in the descriptions, that you should provide documented evidence. This is, I think, something that we mentioned a few times during this presentation, and it is really very important. And please provide clear cross-references once you are preparing your dossier or your application for the endorsement of official control program. Many thanks for your attention. As we will be very happy to answer any question you may have today during the question and answer sessions, or if not, save for tomorrow and day after. We will be very happy as well to address all your questions. Many thanks again.
Thank you very much, Maria, for that elaborate presentation. She has actually given you an analysis of the requirements of issues for consideration during application for an official control program. They told you about the benefits of an endorsement control program to the country, how to apply for the program, and she gave you an emphasis of the common shortcomings in completing the questionnaire, and also some of the shortcomings identified during evaluation. For example, the objectives of the program, the timeline set, performance indicators, these have to be very clear. She has also encouraged you to seek support when in doubt. Seek support from the regional and sub-regional offices, and also from the headquarters. Thank you very much, Maria, for that. And I just want to say that this proceedings are recorded. They'll be available sometimes later on the African website for those who may want to follow later. But at this juncture, I just want to get into the question and answer session. And I presume that the presenters have read some of their questions in the chat, but I would also like to see if there's any hands raised for specific burning issues that needs addressing. If I don't see your hand, can OIE staff who are on this help me identify who has raised their hands? Thank you. Do we have questions? Yes, Côte d'Ivoire. Somebody will have to interpret this into English from French.
There is interpretation, Samuel.
Okay, good.
Bonjour à tous. Est-ce qu'on m'entend?
On vous entend, oui, merci.
Oui, on vous attend bien.
Et en tout cas, j'aimerais remercier les présentateurs pour la qualité des communications. Alors, ma question va à l'endroit du premier présentateur sur la situation de la PPR. Je ne sais pas si c'est une incompréhension, mais au niveau de l'approche, lorsqu'on passe de l'étape 1 à l'étape 4. Dans l'explication, il avait dit que dans certaines situations, on pourrait se retrouver de la situation 1 et on passe directement à l'étape 4, qui veut dire que le pays est indemne de la maladie. Alors que dans la compréhension que nous avions avant, il fallait suivre tout le processus. C'est-à-dire que de l'étape 1, il fallait déjà passer par le contrôle, c'est-à-dire l'étape 2 et 3, avant de pouvoir évoluer vers l'étape 4 pour déclarer le pays indemne de la maladie. Ça, c'était la première préoccupation que j'avais. Et puis la deuxième, c'était par rapport à la DIVA, pour la différenciation des animaux qui sont vaccinés. Il avait expliqué que, je ne sais pas s'il y avait des expérimentations, mais qui ne sont pas encore déployées sur le marché. J'aimerais bien comprendre cette partie-là. Ensuite, j'avais également une préoccupation au niveau de la faune sauvage, concernant toujours la PPR, puisqu'il avait dit que la surveillance à ce niveau était vraiment limitée. Et moi, la question que j'allais poser, est-ce que l'OIE prévoit des actions pour pouvoir, je vais dire, pallier à toutes ces insuffisances, que ce soit au niveau de la faune sauvage, mais également l'inadéquation dans la surveillance au niveau des différents pays qui a été relevé tout à l'heure par le présentateur, et même aussi la difficulté au niveau également de la traçabilité au niveau des différents pays. Est-ce que l'OIE prévoit, je veux dire, des appuis en ce sens-là? Ça, c'était pour le premier présentateur. Ensuite, la situation sur la rage. Je ne sais pas si c'est dû à la traduction, mais j'ai dû comprendre qu'il y avait des handicaps qui pouvaient être causés par la rage. Est-ce qu'ici, on parle d'handicap physique, auquel cas je souhaiterais plus d'explications? Voilà un peu les questions que j'avais à poser. Merci.
Okay, Simon, could you kindly respond to that quickly? And Côte d'Ivoire, lower your hand.
Okay, thank you very much. Starting with the PPL stages, that is the progressive stepwise stages. Yeah, I say that you can start at a point that sometimes most countries start at a point where they don't have any information about PPL in their country, and that is what was listed as shown in the infograph as in black, and it was shown as without any information. But when the country now undertakes epidemiological as well as socioeconomic assessment of PPL in their country, they're able to know exactly where they are. they could be at one point be historically free. And if they're historically free, and then they do epidemiological as well as socioeconomic assessment, which is now more of evidence-based information, which proves completely they are free, then they'll jump straight from stage 1 to stage 4. So it's not necessary for them to go through stage 2, 3, because they have nothing to vaccinate or control, because they have actually ensured through the assessments that they don't have PPL in their country. So that's why they can jump from stage 1 to stage 4 after they get full information. Similarly, at stage 2, if they're able to control in the small pockets within production systems, and they feel they have got capability to control the disease in the whole country, they can jump straight from stage 2 to the next stage, if that is possible. So it's more about the country's capacity, as well as the spread of the disease, how it is spread, and whether it can be able to be managed. The next question was about DIVA technology. And what I would want to say is that the differentiation of vaccinated animals from the virus, wild virus, that technology has already been developed, and we have scientific papers published publicly so far about that. And actually, this goes together about the vaccine and the diagnostic tests. And therefore, what is currently ongoing could be the development of these vaccines for commercial use, which has not been done. And that's what I talked about, that although the DIVA technology is available, it has not been commercialized yet, so that it can be accessible to countries for use in the PPL eradication process. But this is something we hope will happen very soon. The third point he raises is about wildlife and the limited interaction of wildlife and PPL eradication. And the point which I raised was that in most countries, the wildlife department or the Ministry of Environment, which is concerned with wildlife, have very minimal interactions with the Ministry of Livestock. And therefore, you find there isn't a lot of interactions to learn how the disease in wildlife is being monitored. And therefore, this is something, a gap which needs to be addressed within countries, how countries can interact, their departments can collaborate for proper disease surveillance across the wildlife livestock interface. What OIE has done through the FAO OIE PPL Secretariat is that we have developed a guideline which can help in wildlife surveillance. And this guideline is available both at GFTAD website as well as OIE and FAO website. And these guidelines can be used to really inform how countries go about doing surveillance in wildlife. So that's the much I can say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon. Could we have an intervention from Tunisia? Tunisia, kindly unmute and ask your question. Tunisia?
Merci
Okay.
Bonjour tout le monde, c'est Wafa Ben Hamouda. D'abord, j'aimerais bien saluer toute la présence et vous remercier pour l'organisation et la qualité de présentation. Ma question concerne le soutien que peut offrir l'OIE en collaboration avec les bailleurs de fonds, parce que la Tunisie a déjà mis son plan de contrôle depuis 2016-2017. Elle a mis conformément à la feuille de route faite par l'OIE et conformément au plan de contrôle fait par l'Union africaine. Mais malheureusement, depuis, on n'a pas pu l'appliquer faute de moyens. Et même on a essayé de faire une réunion avec les bailleurs de fonds en Tunisie pour avoir un financement. Parce que vous, comme vous le savez déjà et vous avez présenté ça, le contrôle de la PPR n'est pas uniquement la vaccination. Il y a d'autres mesures à appliquer, des mesures d'accompagnement pour arriver à un bon résultat et avoir un statut indemne. Donc, ma question est la suivante. Comment l'OIE, en collaboration avec les bailleurs de fonds, peut soutenir les pays à arriver à un statut indemne? Et merci.
I suppose that question is addressed to Simon. How can OI support countries to reach the freedom status? I mean, not only Simon, but all the OI staff involved with PPR, but Simon can go ahead and then others can join in, please.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. I think one of the ways to support countries is that through the OI PPL Secretariat, FAO OI's PPL Secretariat, we have actually been working with the countries so that first of all, they have a PPL control and eradication strategy. This is what is going to inform the country to be able to know exactly what they need to do in their own country as they work through eradication of PPL, particularly looking at the target of 2030. And it is this strategy which can also be turned into an investment tool because it will have very clear activities they want to do. They can cost them and therefore be able to say, this is the amount of money or resources we require. And it is now where the donors or people who would want to invest in the country would come in. The country itself have to invest in that strategy and so that it can attract other people to participate in that. So I think that is the first step we would want to do. And the next step is that at OIE PPL, FAO PPL OIE Secretariat, we are helping to develop the global strategy, not strategy, but the global eradication program, these two, which is about to be launched. And this again is going to give more direction.
Justement, la Tunisie. Oui. Justement, la Tunisie, quand elle a préparé son programme d'éradication, elle a estimé le budget nécessaire. Et on a déjà préparé un projet bancable qui a pour objectif l'éradication de la PPR à l'horizon 2030. Donc déjà, on a estimé le budget nécessaire pour ça.
Okay, can I interject, please? I think Alessandro from the OI based in Tunisia might help in this, after which perhaps Simon will complete the answer, because it's specific to Tunisia. Alessandro, do you have a...
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
Merci beaucoup.
It is just because our colleague...
Merci beaucoup.
Wait, Wafa, just a moment. Just to highlight that our colleague Alexander put in the chat, I think an answer that would be useful for Tunisia, and I will take the opportunity to mention, actually, to reiterate what Alexander said, that, for example, in the Mediterranean region, Remesa could play an important role, and within Remesa now a new office was established in Palermo in Sicily with the objective of providing technical support, but also they look for facilitating the implementation of control of diseases. And of course, PPR is one of the diseases that could be in the agenda of STORE. So I would like to encourage Tunisia to put it in the discussion with the experts that are in the STORE. So that's it.
Thank you. So can we have the hand for Tunisia?
Merci beaucoup pour la réponse.
Welcome. Alexander. Yes. Could you now lower your hand so that I can see who's next? Okay. Are there any hands? I can't see any more hands. Okay, I'll give this opportunity to Tenzin to maybe highlight anything that he may have forgotten very briefly. before we go to the next session? Tenzin?
I think I don't have much.
Okay.
But I think countries are encouraged to develop their national strategic plan, and also start preparing a questionnaire for submission for OIE endorsement of their national control program. So if you have an OIE endorsed national rabies control program in place, I think it will also provide an opportunity for the donor countries to really invest on the rabies elimination program.
Thank you. There is a question in the chat from FAO to Yonton. I've just missed it. Yonton, have you looked at it to provide more information on something? I've missed it somewhere. I don't know. Oh, the writer, could you kindly ask it directly so that we can hear the answer?
Could it be attributed to Edward Okori?
Yes.
I'm just trying to, it's just to brainstorm to find out why there's the efforts towards eradication of PPR is somehow losing trend in a number of endemic countries, especially in a situation where the virulence is really is apparently low. I mean, just to challenge this is directly, concerned to resource mobilization and efforts towards PPR eradication. Thank you. This is an open question to delegates.
Okay. Delegates, you have heard the question. I don't know whether all the delegates will want to respond to this, but it's food for thought. Maybe any one delegate that we can have. Meanwhile, as they think to respond, I'll ask Ouma from OIE to respond, to put his question, and then we'll go back to that question that has been asked from the FAO. Ouma? Ouma?
Oui, c'est juste pour contribuer au débat par rapport à l'éradication de la PPR et de la rage. Je crois que l'élément fondamental que nous disposons à l'heure actuelle, c'est des bons vaccins qui peuvent nous aider à éradiquer les maladies. Mais l'éradication nécessite ou exige de notre côté la mobilisation de ressources et le renforcement des capacités des services vétérinaires. Les deux sont absolument indispensables. Le fait d'élaborer le PNS, le plan stratégique d'éradication de la PPR, ou le plan d'éradication de la rage, ne suffisent absolument pas. Il faut qu'il y ait absolument la mobilisation des ressources nécessaires par rapport à ce qui a été prévu dans les PNS, aussi bien du côté des États que du côté, effectivement, des bailleurs de fonds qui sont disponibles pour apporter leur contribution. Et là, une fois le PNS validé au niveau du pays, techniquement et politiquement, il y a une possibilité, effectivement, d'organiser des tables rondes pour pouvoir rechercher les financements additionnels. Voilà comment je pense qu'une approche qui pourrait peut-être être utilisée pour, d'un côté, mobiliser les ressources nécessaires et de l'autre côté, renforcer les capacités de services vétérinaires pour parvenir à l'éradication. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Ouma. May I request Simon perhaps to respond to that debate that was put by Okori? Briefly, very briefly, because we are now running, we are overshooting our time.
Okay, I think the key issue raised by Edward was that we have relapse of PPR in most of the countries, particularly the endemic countries. And these cases are usually of very low virulence PPR, sometimes very difficult to find and rarely reported, and therefore causing endemicity to remain in most of the countries. And therefore, he was posing this question to the delegates, asking them what is the take? What is their take about this? Or how are they handling this issue, whereby we have PPR in the countries? It's very difficult to detect. It's very low down there. And probably not raising issues with the farmers and the herders, and therefore kind of maintaining the disease, but nobody's complaining.
Felix, Jeremy, able to also contribute to this? You are the secretariat. Tell us, can you support the countries to, make your contribution to this, please?
Yes, good morning, Samuel. Thank you. How are we able to support country? I think that my colleague, they already provide a lot of information in addition to what Alexander put in the chat. It's the PFP at the country, at the global GFTAT level. But in any case, we are also assisting countries specifically, as our colleague from Tunisia. Yes, they have national strategic plan, fine. But now with African Union, we are trying to see how are we able to turn this national strategic plan into investment plan so that they are able to go and advocate to donor. This now, I am sure that by the end of this year, we will come back to Tunisia or to all member countries to see how are we able to turn the national strategic plan into investment plan and even trend them for resource mobilization. But more importantly, in Simon's presentation, he mentioned something at the end of the funding from OIE, that national country, the national best services should make sure that they advocate to have their own resources for PPI application. On 17th of March, the so-called Nairobi Declaration was made. The continental strategy of Africa mentioned that at least each country should advocate to have at least 30% of the cost of their national strategic plan. Let each country start with that one. If you are able to put your money, I am sure that you will be able to attract donor, or even we from FAO and OIE using our regular program to assist. However, we are there to assist. This is the comment that I can provide at this stage. Thank you. Up to you, Sam.
Thank you, Felix. Now I see one hand raised from Tunisia once again. Maybe we shall have this one hand, and then I'll give the presenters final talk before we go back to the status department, tell us what's in for the next 2 days. Tunis?
Je reviens vers le sujet de la rage, et dans les présentations, j'ai vu quelque chose sur la gestion de la population canine. Parce qu'en Tunisie, nous avons également, où ma collègue chargée du dossier, Madame Ebna, les présente avec nous, elle peut le confirmer. Nous avons un programme d'éradication de la rage, mais la composante la plus difficile et celle que les services vétérinaires malheureusement ne le maîtrisent pas, c'est la gestion de la population canine. Parce que c'est un autre ministère qui est chargé de ça. Nous avons commencé, il y a eu beaucoup des expériences et des essais de stérilisation, capture et stérilisation des chiens errants. Actuellement, le nombre de centres de stérilisation commence à augmenter. Ce sont les municipalités qui s'organisent pour la mise en place de ces centres de stérilisation, mais surtout après la révolution et beaucoup de choses qui ont impacté l'environnement en Tunisie, on n'arrive pas à bien maîtriser la population canine, à part la capture et à travers la capture et la stérilisation qui reste un moyen jusqu'à aujourd'hui non adapté à la situation actuelle. Je n'ai pas vu d'autres expériences. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous présenter l'expérience de la Namibie, comment ils ont fait pour la gestion de la population canine ou d'autres expériences dans le monde? Et merci.
Okay, I'll give Tenzin an opportunity to briefly answer that, but I'll also encourage the other presenters on PPR, that's Simon and anybody else from HQ involved with this. Zimbabwe has asked a question. They've been demonstrating absence of PPR for 24 months. Then there was COVID, there was interruption. Do they have to start again? There's also a question from Eritrea. When will the DIVA be available? And Nigeria is proposing OIE and the FAO to engage in political leadership in the African region at the level of the AU, if we need to allocate adequate resources for provision. Let's have comments on those as the last before we go to the last item for today. Tenzin?
Okay, thank you, Tunisia. I would just like to, maybe the participant from Namibia can also share their experience. We have Dr. Ilago here, but I would just like to inform the floor that in Namibia, there are not many, stray dog is not an issue. Most of the dogs are owned and pet dogs, and they are accessible for vaccination program. So whenever there's whenever a vaccination, mass dog vaccination program is implemented, the dog owners would present their dog for the vaccination. So as you said, stray dog is a very serious issue, and it is also very difficult to control the vaccination, the dog population management program. So the best example I would like to share is in Bhutan. Like Bhutan is a small Himalayan country that is located between China and India. So they are doing a very, very aggressive catch, neuter, and vaccinate. Catch, neuter, vaccinate, and return program. That is called CNBR program, mass sterilization program. And they are targeting for 100% sterilization program in the next few months' time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Can somebody address the Zimbabwe issue? They have had interruption because of COVID. They were doing very well. Should they start again?
Maybe I can come with my small knowledge if you understand.
Yes, please.
Yes, I think that they are asking maybe 24 months. In 20, the surveillance is not only active surveillance. They have also been doing the passive surveillance. My suggestion for Zimbabwe is that if they were able maybe to, at least this year, to collect few of the sample, to do active surveillance, they can maybe combine 2019 and 2024, because they have never had any case of PPR in their livestock. Therefore, combining all this data and submit it, I think that it could be acceptable. Over, back to you.
Thank you. And I'll attempt to address the Nigeria question. It's true that we need political leadership at the African Union level. I can tell you at the moment, the OIE and the FAO are engaging with the AU-IBA to actually have a pan-African control program for PPR. And we had the endorsement of the ministers in charge of animal resources. And I think as the program will be put in place, there will be more and more inclusion of countries' leadership as may be needed. So at least there is something happening from the OIE and FAO to actually support the countries at the highest political level. Now,
okay.
Oma, is that the last? Is that the same hand or another hand? Meanwhile, Simon.
Just to mention that I think there was somebody from Eritrea who raised a question of DIVA, and I think there isn't much we can do now because the issue is it's within commercial level. So the production at commercial level, it will depend on their own timelines. But I think I can see Camilla has given some answer also on the chat relating to that, and this is like careful work in the field can also be able to discriminate the vaccination-induced seroconversion. So it's also good. There's more diligent in vaccination in the field as we await for the DIVA to come. Thank you.
Okay, that also takes care of the question from South Sudan. I just want to know, Omar, is that the same hand or is a new question?
Non, c'est une nouvelle main. C'est une nouvelle main.
The same hand, okay.
Si vous me
A new
permettez.
hand, ask your question.
Yeah, thank you. It's not a question, it's a contribution. It is a contribution.
Okay.
Come, I'm going to speak in French, please.
Yeah, please proceed.
Thank you very much. I got an experience j'ai eu une expérience pour l'éradication des PPR à travers un programme national que nous avions mis en place. Dans ce programme, il y a une bonne implication des deux ministères, le ministère de l'élevage et celui de la santé. Ça, c'est une très bonne organisation, une très bonne coopération et collaboration entre les deux cadres des deux ministères. Deuxièmement, une bonne organisation des campagnes de vaccination. La spécificité de ces campagnes de vaccination, c'est de conduire les campagnes uniquement le samedi et le dimanche, où véritablement la population est disponible pour pouvoir amener les chiens à des points bien précis dans les quartiers qui sont identifiés, où les gens sont sensibilisés, les coins sont identifiés, etc., pour mener la campagne de vaccination. Chaque chien vacciné est marqué, et pour permettre véritablement par la suite tout ce qui concerne le suivi. Et maintenant, pour les chiens errants, dont on ne connaît pas un peu trop les coins, on essaie d'identifier leur lieu de concentration, le lieu où véritablement ces chiens puissent avoir la possibilité de se nourrir, c'est-à-dire autour des marchés, autour de, je ne sais pas, d'un certain nombre de poubelles, etc., qui sont identifiés. En tout cas, dans le cadre de notre expérience, tous les chiens errants, pas seulement tous les chiens ayant un propriétaire ont été vaccinés pour la plupart, y compris aussi les autres animaux de compagnie. On avait même eu des singes qui ont été vaccinés. Et maintenant, notre problématique était effectivement restée au niveau des animaux errants. Il était question de pouvoir mettre des vaccins, les suivre régulièrement, etc., surtout à des heures tardives où ces chiens apparaissent. Je crois que cela a permis effectivement dans le pays concerné, particulièrement si les Tchadiens sont là, ils peuvent véritablement donner leur expérience. Cela a permis de réduire de manière très drastique et pratiquement éliminer la rage au niveau de la capitale du Tchad, où nous avons véritablement mené ces travaux. Mais tout le personnel qui était impliqué était vacciné pour pouvoir être sûr que nous ne puissions pas avoir des problèmes à ce niveau-là. Donc voilà une petite expérience en ce qui concerne la rage au niveau du Tchad. Il y a des publications à ce niveau-là. Je crois que vous pouvez consulter, je n'ai pas en tête, mais vous avez effectivement toute l'équipe qui était dirigée par le docteur Zinsta, qui est de l'Institut tropical suisse et qui dispose effectivement quelques publications avec ses collaborateurs tchadiens. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much for sharing that experience. Thank you, Mercy. Thank you very much. At this moment, I think we are running into a time crisis. I will ask the Standards Department to tell us, the OI Standards Department, to tell us what's in store for tomorrow and the following day.
Yeah, many thanks, and many thanks for your active participation of all of you and for your questions. Very interesting. And please, yeah, keep some for tomorrow and day after. So tomorrow we will focus on rabies mainly. We will have a few presentations, and one of these presentations will be Namibia sharing its experience in the preparation of the dossier and how they compile this information. So I think this is something that will be very useful for you, and it will give you as well some practical examples, what they did, how they implemented their plan before applying for endorsement of official control program. We will have an exercise where we will work on the work time and indicators, how to show the progress of the implementation of your program. And as well, we will have two specific presentations, one from our rabies global rabies coordinators from the OIE, Rachel, who will give you the presentation about the generic template for developing a national strategic plan to eliminate rabies. And we will have a presentation from the OI Reference Lab from South Africa, how they can support you in the diagnosis of rabies and what are the other offers they can propose you. What I would like to highlight is that last Friday we have sent you the exercises case studies in French and in English. We will send them today as well after the training. So please, we would like to ask you to carefully read those exercises and to start think about answers and potential questions to those exercises. So tomorrow and day after, once we start the exercise, you have already some concrete questions or points to discuss. Just please reminded that you will be working on these exercises in the group, and then each of the groups will be requested to present the conclusions. Day 3 will be focusing mainly on PPR, and as well it will include more specific requirements and the questionnaire for PPR, one specific exercise who should facilitate the preparation of dossier for PPR, for the endorsement of official control program for PPR. And we will have 2 presentations that are one on the OAE PPR reference laboratory network and support given to the OAE members. And the next one will be presentation on the PPR monitoring and assessment tool that will be given. So there is another exercise as well for Friday that you please read carefully. And we are waiting tomorrow, looking forward to tomorrow to work with you and to follow up on further topics. Thanks a lot.
Good. Thank you very much, Maria. And I wish to really thank all of you for making time to attend this very important session. It will continue tomorrow and the day after. Are there any announcements? Maybe Patrick, can you let us know if the link is going to be the same, or we'll have another link? Just clarify before we close. Meanwhile, I can see Rwanda. Okay, Rwanda. Very brief, please. Rwanda, I see your hand up.
Okay, thank you, Samuel. Well, they say about the questionnaire. Where is the questionnaire? Hello?
Yeah, we are here. If you think about case study, they were sent last Friday by email and will be resent today as well. Maybe we can share as well via chat these case studies. So you can work on them and start preparing the exercises. If you speak about the questionnaires that are for the application of the endorsement of OAE official control programs, we will share as well the links with you via chat immediately.
Please, thank you.
You're very welcome.
So all of you are encouraged to check your mails for the questionnaire. Those who may have not read their mails, it's been a long weekend in many countries. Maybe you've missed the email. So Maria will send the questionnaire again, the link to the questionnaire again to all of us. So Patrick, is there any specific announcements about tomorrow's link? Is it the same, or we're going to get another new link?
No, the link is the same and the time is the same. So we'll start at noon Paris time, 10 o'clock in the morning GMT, using the same link as today. But I will send reminders out tomorrow morning so that you don't lose track of your registration link.
Thank you very much. In the absence of Karim, who is attending another meeting, I would like to thank you all and close this session until tomorrow. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Merci beaucoup.
Bye.
Merci.
Bye.
Goodbye.